We were looking at buying some outdoor sofas, but they're really expensive and many of them don't look like they're built to last. So in this video, I'm going to be building 3 low-cost outdoor sofas, and I'll talk more about the total costs later in the video. I bought lots of pressure-treated 63 by 38mm timber, also known as 3x2s or CLS timber, 2.4 meters in length. And I'd already designed what I wanted to build as a 3D model in SketchUp, which was by far the most time-consuming part of this entire project. I also took the time to build a prototype just to make sure it would be comfortable before building the other 2. Plans and a cut list for this build are available on my Etsy store for a small fee, or for free if you're a channel member on Patreon or YouTube channel membership. Links to those in the description box below, and I have my cut list here that I can start working from to cut the pieces to length. I like to cut the ends off the boards first because they tend to split and crack as they're drying out. You can see what I mean in this close-up. Then I can butt my freshly cut end up to the stop block on my miter saw and make the cuts. And the vast majority of the cuts on this project will all be done at the miter saw, but if you don't have one, you could easily use a hand saw or a circular saw and a straight edge. The first component that I'm going to make is the part that you sit on, and for that most of the cuts were all made at 90 degrees, but I want to cut the back ends of the side rails to 15 degrees. For those angled cuts, I mark a 90-degree line across the board at the length I need, as it's easier to line the blade up with that line on the waist side than it would be a small pencil mark, and then I can cut the angle. And then I can just double check that the length is correct, and it is, so I can move on. I then use that piece as a template to mark up the next piece, and I can cut that to length too. I now have all of the parts I need to form the seat, and they will be assembled with an exterior grade polyurethane glue. I'll leave a link to this in the description box, it's good stuff. And then I drill pilot holes and add some screws. All the screws that I'm using on this project are decking screws, so they're great for exterior use, they won't rust. And I bought 2 sizes for use on this project, 65mm and 100mm. You could get away with just using the 65mm ones, but for some of the joints it's nice to have the 100mm screws to provide additional strength. I measure up to make sure that I place this piece right in the centre of the frame. I like to use a countersink bit for the pilot holes so that I can sink the heads of the screws beneath the surface of the timber. No fancy joinery on this project, just glued butt joints, fast and easy. And most of the screw holes will be hidden from view and won't be visible on the finished product. Then I can make sure that the distance between the front and back rails is consistent on each side before securing the back rail in place. Then it's back to the miter saw to make the cuts for the next component, which is the backrest. And that's made up out of 1 long top rail and 3 short upright pieces, which each have one end cut to 10 degrees. This is also put together with glue and screws, like so. And you'll see I'm using a square just to make sure that everything's square. Again, I measure up to get the one in the middle nicely centered. Then I'm going to put the seat and backrest components together. I just need to measure and mark where I want it positioned, and then I can add glue. And I'm going to use pocket holes to secure the pieces. I'm using a 6mm bit here. I don't have a pocket hole jig, and I don't really want one either as it's not something I'd use, but it's easy enough to drill these just by getting the hole started and then changing the angle of the drill. And these screws are self-tapping, so I don't need to fully drill out those pilot holes. Really, I'm just creating an opening for the screw to go into. After securing the 3 uprights through the top, I can flip it over and add some of the long 100mm screws through from the bottom and into the uprights. I put that to one side, and it's back to the miter saw again to cut the pieces for the arm and leg component, and these bits require a few different angles cut. This is probably the trickiest of the components, and I found it useful to mark up the pieces so that I don't get lost. FL here means front leg, BL back leg, and I also write the angles on so that I know which end will be at the top or the bottom of the assembly, and so on. And I can tick off each component from my cut list as I work so that I can keep track of where I'm at. So here we have a front leg, a back leg, and a rail that joins the 2 together. And I can glue and assemble these with screws too. Again, I'm using the pocket hole method here, mainly because I want to hide them and have as few screw holes visible as possible on the finished product. So far, all of the angle cuts have been made across the thickness of the boards, but for the next part I want to cut an angle across the width of the board instead. So instead of pivoting my miter saw, I need to tilt the head to the angle needed, to 5 degrees in this case, and I can then cut the armrests, which need one end cut at 5 degrees and the opposite end at 10 degrees. I'm not going to add the armrests to the assembly yet though, because it's going to be easier to add them to the arm and leg component once the chairs are assembled later on. The final component is the back support rail, and instead of cross cuts, these are going to need rip cuts down the length of the boards. The easiest way to cut these is using the table saw, and I can use my digital angle gauge to set the angle needed, 15 degrees off 90 for the first piece, which is 75 degrees. And I'm basically cutting as little as possible away from the edge. I just want to establish the angle onto the workpiece while retaining as much of the board as possible. And the next piece needs a 10-degree rip cut, so I set it to 80 degrees and rip that too. If you don't have a table saw, the next best option is to use a bevel gauge to mark up the angle that you need, and either a hand plane or an electric planer to establish the angles. These two pieces get glued together with the top rail overhanging the bottom rail, and I want to get that centered too, so I measure the overhang at each end and reposition as necessary. I can then add screws from underneath to secure them together. That's pretty much all the components done, and it's onto assembly. I found it useful to cut a couple of spacers to allow me to position the seat component correctly in relation to the arm and leg components. And a couple of clamps hold it all together temporarily. I do that on both sides, and then I can offer up the back rail, and I want to make sure that it's positioned so that it's in contact with the backrest, providing extra support. I draw around the areas where the two meet together with a pencil so that I know where to apply glue. And then I can fix the backrest to the back rail. And then I can mark up where to apply glue to secure the arm and leg component to the seat. And I get that fixed in place with screws too. I also add a long screw through the back of the back rail into the arm and leg assembly. At this point I can remove the spacers as they've done their job, and as it's a sunny day I'm going to venture outside for the rest. I apply some glue to the top of the arm and leg components, and then I can add the armrests that I cut earlier. I clamp them in place for 15 minutes or so, and this glue foams up, so once it's dry I can scrape away the excess. And I added a couple of screws from underneath for additional strength. For the slats on the sofas I'm going to use 150 by 22mm timber. These are sold as gravel boards at my local timber merchant. I can just cut them to length at the miter saw and then offer them up. And I'm just spacing them out equally by eye, and then I'm securing each board just with one screw right in the centre of the board to the rails underneath, which is going to allow the boards to expand and contract with seasonal changes. And I'm making sure to orient the grain of each board with the rings in a smile formation, if you like, so that the screws will counteract the way that the boards naturally want to cup when they dry out. Basically, if they were the other way up, they'd cup like this, which would be bad. The timber that I'm using for the slats is rough sawn, which isn't ideal, so in other words it's not been planed smooth. So it's a bit rough and splintery in places, so I did a bit of sanding. I'm not aiming for a perfect finish here. I don't want to sand away the treatment that's been applied. I basically just want to make sure that no one gets a splinter in their hands or their legs. Planed pressure treated timber would be a better choice if you can get it. I couldn't. I also ease over the sharp edges and sand the end grain nice and smooth. I'm going to get these moved around to the back of my house now where they're going to live. And I've got some of this wood preservative treatment that's going to help protect the wood from insects and rot. And I applied a few coats of this, paying particular attention to the areas where I've made cuts. So basically the end grain, and that's because although these boards were pressure treated, that treatment only really penetrates the first few millimeters of the surface, so topping it up with some preservative is a good idea. I'm also going to add some of these to the bottom of the legs. These are actually plastic door stops. And I thought this was going to be a bit of a hack as they're quite cheap, but actually I'm not sure how well they'll hold up over time. They're not as robust as I hoped they would be, so I'll probably end up replacing them at some point. But anyway, these will just keep the bottom of the legs off the ground so that they're not soaking up moisture over time, which would obviously lead to rotting. Pressure treated timber really needs to be dried out thoroughly before applying any paint, but I'm a YouTuber and I need to get a good thumbnail, so I painted one of the 3 sofas I made just a couple of weeks after I finished making them, and most of the wood was measuring about 15% moisture content, so it's not super wet. Hopefully the paint will bond to the wood okay, but time will tell. I can always sand it back and repaint it later if I have to. This is an exterior grade paint designed for timber, and it's going to add further protection to the timber and also make them look a bit more presentable. These sofas can be used without cushions, just as benches I guess, and they're pretty comfortable if I do say so myself.
Hello. Come on then. Come on.
But we really wanted to get some cushions for them, and after lots and lots of searching, we ended up buying these by Gardenista. Outdoor cushions are very expensive and some of the cheaper ones are really poorly made. I think these ones represent reasonable value for money. They're not the nicest, but if you're on a tight budget like we were, they're pretty good. I'll leave links to these in the description box below, and they're available in sets of various quantities as well, which is quite good. And we wanted a pale colour for the cushions because UV damage from the sun tends to fade the more vibrant colours. Now onto the costs. Each sofa cost about £87, which is about $120 to make. That's for the 7 2.4 metre lengths of CLS timber, which was about £30, 3 2.4 metre lengths of the gravel boards for the slats, which was about £12, and then the cushions for each sofa working out at around £45. Obviously then, in addition to that, there's decking screws, plastic feet, and whatever preservative, stain or paint product that you might choose to apply on top of that. But we're probably talking not much over £100 in total for each sofa, and I think that's really quite good, seeing as most of the sets of 2 or 3 outdoor sofas that appeared to be reasonably well made that we were looking at were priced well over £1,000. Don't forget, full detailed plans and cut lists are available for this build. Link in the description box below. I'm really pleased with how they turned out. They're going to get loads of use and I think they'll last many years, and really they're the first part of a series of videos which will focus on making our garden a nicer place to be. So please subscribe if you haven't already for more weekly woodworking videos. If you'd like to help support the channel and get exclusive content, early access to my videos, free project plans and cut lists, and a name credit at the end of my videos, you can find links to my YouTube channel membership and Patreon page in the description box below this video, or you can make a one-off donation via PayPal. Thank you for watching.